What's up guys, Larry Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. We're focusing on the coolest cars, and today we have a beautiful Dodge Dart, and we're actually at Holly Mopar Fest, also known as Mo Party. And this is the owner slash builder, Dustin Smith. Dustin, thank you for bringing your awesome Dart. It's like an old school build, but updated with new school technology, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's what I was after. Retro-mod, I think is what they call it.
Tell us a little bit about it. How did it start life as?
It was a 1967 Dodge Dart. I bought it out of Florida. It used to be a race car, I think, but the guy drove it around. I was actually going to build a Nova first, but I decided not to. I sold that and built this.
There's so many different builds that come to these kind of festivals, you know? There's the race car builds, there's the show cars, but this kind of does a little bit of both, right? I mean, you take this to the track.
Yes, I've driven it over 100 miles to a car show, and I've also taken it down the drag strip several times. So it's built to do both, and I think that's the best way to own a car.
And then from looking from the outside, I mean, you know something is different and something is special because of this exhaust right here that's just coming right out the side of the front. Let's take a look at the engine bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just so crazy. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the motor package here.
Yeah, so it's a 5.7 Hemi, a 2012, which is an Eagle engine. It has the 6.1 forged crank, OEM crank. It's got the 6.1 intake. It has an MMX forged rotating assembly, comp cam, MSD coils, FIC injectors, and all kinds of other little things. The turbo's a VS Racing. I spent a lot of money here. I wanted to save a little money here, but it's working out nicely. It's a 7875 turbo. Did
you have a chance to dyno this?
I have not. We tuned it on the road so far. It does make nice power, judging by the times at the track. We still have a lot of work to do on it.
What has it run at the track so far?
It has run a 768 at 98 mile an hour, but it has absolutely no timing in the car, and it has very low boost right now. We're just trying to get the car happy and settled before we start laying power to it.
Oh, so you built it for the 8th mile?
Yes, well, sort of. It is a 6-speed, so it could do a quarter mile. But realistically, it's built to drive. I wanted to drive it to the gas station or drive it to go get ice cream, and also be able to take it to the track and then drive it home.
You were pretty much like the new generation in terms of car nuts. Why did you choose to build something like this?
Man, I've always had a fascination for Mopars. I like old school, but I'm younger, so why not put a modern touch in the old school cars? The old school cars had great lines, and they're just so nice, and there's nothing like driving a classic hot rod. If you know it, you know what I'm talking about.
The modern Dart is not a Dart.
No, it's not.
It's just the name, and it's honestly so embarrassing. I mean, to see where it came from. I mean, not to say, like, the stock version, of course, obviously wasn't this wild, and you've put your touches on it to make it modern, including like this arrow piece here that really updates the look of it. It's hard to kind of inspire a lot of the young generation to get into this, but you've done it so well. And on top of that, this is a manual transmission. A lot of young guys like you don't even know how to drive stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Anti-theft device.
Right, exactly. That's what everyone says. Let's check out the interior.
Yeah.
What kind of transmission is this?
So it's a TR6060, which it came out in several of the newer 6-speed cars. I think the Hellcat runs it, the RTs, some of the Mustangs I think do it, a lot of the Camaros. They just changed bell housings and stuff. So I actually got this one out of an RT Charger. It uses a Hellcat OEM clutch. I figured if it was good enough for a Hellcat, it's good enough for this car. It's quite a bit lighter. I did build the dash completely from scratch. I used the Holley EFI gauges. I even put a nice stereo system in it.
In terms of drivability, that's got to help so much to use an OEM style clutch versus something built for racing.
Yeah, it's hydraulic, so it's amazing. It shifts great.
And this is really nice. This is kind of a great way to clean up the old dash. I like that. And all the gauges look really nice. Fit and finish is great. If this was a race car before, it doesn't seem like it at all. I mean, you guys really did a good job in finish for the interior.
Thank you. Yeah, it never had a cage in it, luckily. I have considered it due to what it's in, you know, it's gotten under the hood now, and I may end up doing something simple, but I like the idea of as stock as possible interior. Maybe one day I'll upgrade the seats to something a little modern, but maintain the same look. I don't know yet. We'll have to see how that works out.
And it has like the old school lap style seat belts.
Which probably is hard to pass tech with, but
I mean, I can only imagine if you just take one corner in this thing, you'll just pretty much fly out of it. So what does your butt dyno say in terms of horsepower? Just the estimate.
Where it sits right now, I'm estimating about 650 horse. I want to hit 800 on pump gas. That's my goal. I'm not trying to rotate the world. I'm not trying to blow the engine up. I want to make it reliable on pump gas so I can drive it to California and also hop in, go to the drag strip. And eventually we may end up putting a flex fuel sensor on it so we can put some race gas in it, but that's really not my goal at the moment. It's a driver.
Let's take a look at the outside real quick. The paint is really nice. Is this a original color?
No, that is actually a 2018 Dodge color. I was having it painted and I was looking at the new B5 blue and I noticed it was a little light. So I went to a car lot and I drove around and said, that's the color I want right there. And I went and took a picture of the color code on it and I told my painter that's what we were going with, so.
It looks great, especially in the sun. You can see like the metallic in it. Looks great. Tell me a little bit about the wheel and tire package here.
So the wheel and tires are built specialty street lights. I threw around the idea of doing the Weld RTSs. They were a little more expensive than I wanted to spend at the time after building all that. So they actually had what I needed in stock, so I bought them. It's a 275, 60, 15 drag radial. I'm a big fan of X275, so I like to run a 275 drag radial. Granted, for a stick car, not the best, but for now it works.
I mean, this has got to be so much fun just to drive on the street. I couldn't even imagine.
It's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing, especially for me. You know, I'm not going to win that many races. I just want to roll my gears and go, you know, a moderate speed, but, you know, I'm not trying to race everyone all the time. So I understand automatics can be a lot faster. This is just too much fun.
Let me turn the wheel. Ugh. It is still a manual steer car, but
you can feel the road better that way.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the road better. Completely custom built K-member. There's a few kits out there. I wasn't super ecstatic about them because the way I needed to run my headers on this build, and luckily I have the tools in the shop. So I built the K-member and I built the sway bar from scratch. It is 4140 bar, and I also built the lower A-arms. I had to fabricate some strengthening pockets up in where the shock fits up on the frame rail.
Yeah, I see that.
Because these cars use a torsion bar, and without it, they don't really have enough strength on the frame rail. So I reinforced the frame rail up there.
It's kind of crazy that nobody builds this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a one-off. This is not my first suspension I built. It's actually the second. So luckily, I at least knew a little bit about the geometry, and it is very important to get the geometry right. But being a manual steer car, it does have 5 degrees of caster, which makes it a little stiff to steer, but it keeps it happy at 150 mile an hour. So that's what I'm after. I'd rather be a little harder to steer than be unstable. The stripe on the back of the car is actually a modern Hemi stripe that you would see on one of the new Chargers, and I basically cut this out. I bought 2 stripes and I cut this out of it and gave it the stripe all the way around the tail to give it that old school touch, but with the new school stripe.
Yeah, no, it looks great. Is there anything underneath the rear that we can talk about?
So the rear end is a Ford 9-inch. It's got a strange center section, Moser axles, QA1 shocks. It's still a leaf spring car. It will likely need Caltracs soon enough. I'm using the Holley fuel system underneath there. I think it was the 160, I believe. It fits my needs for this car.
Can you start it up for us, warm it up, and give us a couple revs?
If I had my laptop hooked up, I could turn it on the two-step.
You want me to grab it?
Yeah. Hey, bring me the laptop.
This is, this should be interesting. So once you get it all set up, then you have to just flip a switch or something to turn it on?
Yeah, so I'll put a button on the dash. And we'll do it when we get a little more, once we get the chassis happy, but you can tell the laptop that when that button's pressed, two-step on, but we've not set it up yet. We haven't needed it yet.
Holy crap. One more time. That is so badass.
That's probably a little higher than we'll launch it normally, but I own a machine shop, and I do a lot of this stuff kind of for advertisement in my shop, and I don't really work on cars specifically in my shop. I build, I'm a job shop, so I build about anything, but it meets people, and that's what you want to do. You want to meet people, and it's always brought me a fair amount of business, so it works out, and people notice the cleanliness, and and that comes off a good way to people, I guess. So
my buddy Evan, we were just driving around, and the first thing he said is like, you got to check out this Dart. It's so clean.
yeah.
And clean can mean many different ways, right? Clean can mean something is super OEM, untouched, everything is just factory, and it's just clean.
Yeah.
But this is, I guess the best way to explain it, like you said, is it's a resto-mod.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that instead of this being scrapped, this could be in a junkyard somewhere,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because in its former life, it was also a race car. But you gave it a second life, and who knows how many more miles this thing's gonna have, and on top of that, who knows, maybe you might pass it on. This thing is awesome. So
when I got it here, being an old race car, it was not beat up. And really what really made me want to build the car is once I see underneath it, the frame rails were perfect. And it was the car to build. The paint was not. It needed a lot of work, but it did not have a lot of rust. It just needed done. And it was an obvious car to build at that time.
I just love seeing builds like this, especially the fact that you said yourself, you built it kind of as a way to advertise your machine shop, yeah. Right? Yeah. You built it for yourself, and also for yourself to enjoy.
Yeah, they're a savings account to me. I'm bad at spending money, so if I can drive my savings account, that makes me happy.
I think that's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet. If I can drive my savings account, then it makes me happy. I think on that note, I think that's a wrap. Thank you so much again, Dustin. Thank you.